Hi, everybody. Good evening. Welcome to First Church and to our Louise self-healing class. Thank you, Celia, for the opening. Tonight I'm going to do a class from one of the Louise lessons. We're going to start with the idea that where Louise said we're each 100% responsible for our life experiences. And that statement is based on the idea that our thoughts and our beliefs create our reality. According to this idea, we're not simply passive recipients of external events or circumstances, but we are active co-creators of our own lives. So, one of our affirmations is, I love, accept, and approve of myself exactly as I am. That was something that came from the book, You Can Heal Your Life. I want to welcome all of you onto our call, by the way. We're having new people, many dozens every week join us, and so we're really grateful that you're here. So when Louise was talking about we're each 100% responsible for our lives, it was never to suggest that we're to blame for anything. If you hear that statement that way, then I just want you to know that is never the way it was intended. Just the opposite. She was suggesting that we begin to develop a more nurturing relationship with ourselves and treat ourselves as we would a best friend. So we'll start with the affirmation tonight. We love, accept, and approve of ourselves exactly as we are. So then when you move into the idea that we're responsible, again, it's not to say we're to blame, it's just to introduce to the audience what we call the law of mind. In other words, my thoughts are things, and if I keep thinking a certain way, then my thinking is going to become reflected in my world. Many of you people, maybe of a younger generation, have heard of the law of attraction. That would be the same idea. Or the law of correspondence, again, the same idea. What I put out there comes back to me. My thoughts are things. So we want to learn how to harness our thinking. We want to learn how to think differently. Because as we learn to lift our thoughts and we learn to lift our consciousness, our energy, we vibrate in a different way. We will bring to us a reflection of what it is that we're thinking. So the first statement, we're 100% responsible for our experiences, is tied into this idea. If I'm a person that's worried, if I always worry about what's going to happen and I'm fearful, it's almost like magnetically I bring things to myself that are going to reflect my worries. If I can learn to harness that very thought process where I see that everything's working out, if I can come to know that life is working for me, I'm loving and I'm lovable, I'm healthy, and good things are happening. If I can begin to really embrace that type of thinking, we'll see, I'm responsible for my thoughts, right? I will bring to myself better health, better relationships, and everything else. So all power is yours to use. The thing about this power is, most of the world probably, first of all, they're not aware that they have this power. And as a result, if you're thinking negatively and you're reacting to everything half the time or all the time, if you're waiting for the other shoe to drop, or if you're thinking about worst case scenarios, unknowingly, and this is the way a lot of people live, they live with a lot of fear, you bring to you, those states of consciousness as you draw it to yourself. So you come into a teaching like this with a book like You Can Heal Your Life, and Louise Hay is trying to say, you can do it a different way. Ernest Holmes, who taught her in the Science of Mind textbook, would say there's power for good in the universe greater than you, of which you are definitely a part. That's important to understand. So there's this universal energy, this universal power, and it's in you, and it responds to you. So you really want to start to think and understand that your words, your thoughts, your feelings are important, because they are an energy in themselves, and they go into life, and they come back to you as a reflection of what you think and feel. So in his teaching, we really want to start to get a handle on, what our consciousness is, what our thoughts are, so we can lift our thoughts. And as you habitually learn to lift your thinking, you will find that your feelings start to change. It was taught to me many years ago that my feelings follow my predominant thoughts. So, there was a time in my life where I was very, very critical, very analytical, and that really doesn't work out very well. I can tell you from my own standpoint. It's taken me time, and maybe you will be a quicker learner than I was. But the thing is, as I start to embrace positivity and develop positive expectations, and realize that I'm responsible for my own thoughts and my experiences, I will learn that I can harness. Along with these lines, we learn that we're not simply passive recipients of life, right? But we're active co-creators of our own lives. When we take responsibility for our experiences, we acknowledge that we have the power to change our thoughts, okay? And if we keep changing our thoughts, our reality is very soon going to change as well. By taking responsibility, we shift from any idea of being a victim. That starts to slip away. We don't feel powerless. We don't feel like we're at the mercy of external forces. We recognize that we have the ability to control our lives. Taking responsibility for our thoughts and our experiences also means acknowledging the role that our thoughts and beliefs have played in our lives. For example, if we have negative thoughts and beliefs about ourselves or the world around us, we are likely then to attract negative experiences into our lives. You might have been in relationships in your life and you don't have a very good opinion of yourself. And what do you think you're going to attract into your world? If you don't feel good about yourself, and you don't feel deserving, there's an expression, like attracts like. You'll bring to yourself the people that will reflect the way you think and the way you think about yourself. And everything that comes into our life, there's an expression in metaphysics, is not coming in to hurt you, it's coming in for you. So we draw into our lives the people that reflect the things that we believe, and just, there's no accidents. So people come into your life and they're there to be a teacher to you. Some of our relationships, that have not been so good have been really wonderful, and from the vantage point, they've taught us some very valuable lessons. The thing I want to know is I don't want to learn the same lesson over and over and over again. So we have an adage we say here, perfect place, perfect time, all the time. So we don't regret our past, right? Everything that we've been through, every struggle, every challenge has brought us to the place where we are right now. And so we can say it's good. We can say it's very good because you've been through a lot. I've been through a lot to bring you to the point of awareness that you have right now. Life doesn't go backwards. It always goes forward. So we want to, acknowledge ourselves for what we've done, the work we've done, and how we've grown, and we want to know it to be good. We're really wanting to build up within us this positive expectancy and start to see life as good and realize that we are one with this power and we can use it to our own benefit. So if we have negative thoughts, once again, about ourselves and about the world around us, we're apt to draw that into our world. So I'd like you to consider, there's an expression, I'd like you to consider learning to be the guardian at the gate. I think that came from Florence Scovel Shinn, an author, a New Thought author. Being guardian at the gate is like, okay, pay attention to what you're thinking. If you're going negative, lift yourself out of that. Just lift yourself out, say, no, I release the need for that, and replace it with something positive. Use affirmations that are positive to help build yourself up. Positive thoughts Cultivate them, develop them, use your affirmations, use your sticky notes. There's applications on your phones now. Whatever you need to do to build up positive expectancy. And the more you do that, the more likely you're going to be attracting new and positive experiences, people, opportunities of every kind. By taking responsibility for our thinking and our experiences, we can also at last release blame. We can release resentment towards other people. And we can realize that other people are not responsible for our reality. So we want to release the need to blame. We want to release resentments. When you're willing to do this, it's going to lead to greater self-awareness, self-acceptance, and compassion for ourselves and for others. The statement of being responsible for what's in our life encourages us to take an active role in creating the life that we want to. I mean, you have awesome power within you. I don't know if you've been to any of our Sunday sessions, but all power is available to you. I mean, we teach you that you are an individualization of this power. You are one with it. And we would suggest as you think about the world and the people you know and wherever you can imagine, this power is, this presence is, this energy is. It's in everything all the time, and it's in you. Whatever, it has, you have. Whatever the Father has, you have. There's no special people. Everybody is an individualization of this energy. And what we're here to do is to wake up and live from that place of knowing that we are one with the one. And we don't need to be about the nonsense. If you're out there in the weeds and you're, reacting to everybody all the time, and it's action and reaction, and you're fighting with everybody, I'm here to tell you there is another way. There is a better way. It was said to me some 40 years ago that the best kept secret of the age is that you have this thing within you that is awesome and it's limitless, and you can learn how to use it. So you learn how to use it by, first of all, taking responsibility, and you say, my God, I have this amazing power. I can see things in new and amazing ways. I don't have to keep going around and round in the same old stories of who's done me wrong and ain't it awful. If you keep doing it that way, who's done me wrong and ain't it awful, you're just digging yourself in a hole. It's a no-win proposition. When you're blaming other people, it's a no-win proposition. Louise was very clear when she said, everyone is doing the best that they can with the information, the understanding, and the awareness that they have. So here's the message. It's very clear. You want to hold them harmless. You want to get out of the blame game. And you want to begin with yourself. You want to hold yourself harmless and stop criticizing yourself. I mean, yes, we all know, every last one of us have made mistakes while we're learning and we're growing. But because you've made mistakes doesn't suggest that you are a mistake in any way, shape, or form. You've simply been a person who's been growing and evolving. And, you're always moving forward. And that's true of life. Life is moving forward. Every one of us on this call are more, you've grown as a spiritual being. You're more than what you were. You know more than you knew. And so that should be celebrated and acknowledged. Please don't focus on the things that you think that you got wrong. Just focus on the fact that you've moved forward and you're expanding and you're growing. So you have this power within you. And when we learn to take responsibility for our thoughts, we will soon see them reflected in our world. What we give out, Louise Hay said, comes back to us. I've heard that all my life. You've heard of the law of attraction, right? The law of karma. What you give out comes back to you. So I guess the question for tonight is, can you take charge of your thinking? And the answer is yes, if you want to. Can you take charge of your thinking? Is it easy? No. It's not easy for most people because we have habituated thinking. Some of you think, I can't do this, it's too much, it's too hard. And my answer for you tonight is begin wherever you are. Whatever you're thinking, here's another expression. It's only a thought you're having, and a thought can be changed. So if you've been, throughout the week thinking of, how tough your life is, and maybe what a raw deal you've gotten, or how, someone has done something to you, and, you kind of can do that. You kind of like dig yourself in a hole with it, but you can do it. You can start challenging yourself to see it the other way. And you can start telling yourself the truth, which is, I am supplied and supported. I am supplied and supported in ways I don't even understand. And you can begin to develop this positive expectancy. I have a few reminders for you today. There's nothing new about them, but I need to remind myself of them. And some of you who are new on the call maybe don't do these things. You begin to turn that conversation around by one suggestion is practice gratitude. Make a habit of focusing on the things in your life that you're really grateful for, especially the things that you take for granted. There are so many things we take for granted. The person who called you this week or reached out to you in a store or helped you in some way, the friend who called you, the people who check in on you, the people you love, or be grateful for whatever health you have. Even if it isn't the health you used to have, you can be grateful for the health that you have now. There's endless things that you can bring to mind. And what a shift that will bring to your life when you start coming from that place. Gratitude brings forth all kinds of good things. When we come from that place, it literally lifts us up. If you tend to be a person who worries a lot, or a person who's very critical, and you use the word should a lot, you should have done this, you should have done that. And if you just tend to be very judgmental and critical, that's going to bring you an interesting life, is all I can say. Because first of all, people are going to run from you. No one wants to be around a person who does that. And I've talked about this subject for 20 years. Louise Hay said that's a word that she would like to see eliminated from the English language, because rarely is it used in a way that feels good, And, you notice if you're using that word towards other people all the time, it doesn't feel good to say it, and it doesn't feel good to be on the receiving end of it. What you're wanting to do, if you're really trying to expand your life and be helpful to people, is you can start saying to people, well, here's something you might try. Here's something you could do. You might try doing it this way, or maybe you could do it another way. But the thing is, you want to get this critical part of you, under control. It's very helpful for many people to pay attention to that and really get a handle on that. And then I started to notice years ago when I was working with that, I wanted to eliminate the synonyms for the word should also, like you must and you have to and all that. You'll be much more effective with people if you talk to them and honor them and say it's entirely up to you, because it is. You can't change people, and you shouldn't really, here I'm using should. You wouldn't want to do it. So the next idea, it's helpful for people to write out this list. Anything you're grateful for, it's helpful to write it down, put it, do it on a legal pad, put it in a journal, do something, and refer to it. I practiced this, I instituted this in a program I was teaching in years ago with some hardened criminals and had them read. It took a long time to get them to write that list, I will tell you. But after I got them to write it and they agreed to read it to themselves each day, their whole world changed. That one unit in that program, stood out from everybody else in the whole place. There were 20 people committed to seeing the good and being grateful, and they were like transformed beings inside of a month or two. Gratitude can really open you up and help shift your focus to what is true. Because the thing is, we live in a spiritual system. You're one with Source, you're part of God, and if you can wake up and just realize how good it is, or I'll invoke Jackie Gleason, how sweet it is. You know, life is sweet, it's really amazing. You have so many talents, so many gifts, but the thing is, you can be poor and downtrodden because you're telling yourself that, you know, it's over and I'm not good enough. And so gratitude can lift you out of all those different places and bring you to a place where you can begin to create a whole different experience. It can really open you up. It'll help shift your focus to what is true and wonderful and help you begin to have the life that you want, something we call, you can begin to learn to live the affirmative life. The next step, in addition to looking away from negatives, we can learn to reframe our negative thinking, our stinking thinking, as they would say in all the 12-step programs. Problem with this type of negative thinking, you know, ain't it awful, poor me, and, you know, just the negative thinking, you know, it's not like that. It's that type of thinking, if it's done over and over again, is reflected in your world. So we want to really be mindful, again, be the guardian at the gate of that. Catch yourself when you're doing it. Tell yourself, stop. I release the need to do this. Replace the negative with a positive. Reframe it in some way. Oftentimes, when I'm on this subject, I tell the story of calling my father. It's probably in my early 40s, late 30s, every morning when I was in business. And I was always having a lot of problems because I had a lot of stuff going on. And he was the perfect coach. He was a great listener. And he would say, "Good morning, Gregory. How are you today? What exciting challenges do you have?" And I would laugh when he would say that, because I knew exactly what he was doing. He was attempting to get, because I was always calling him with impossible situations. And he was wanting me to say, "What exciting challenges do you have today?" He was attempting to get me to reframe everything. And I had pressure, I had deadlines, I had impossible situations, as I recall. And he was always starting out with, "What exciting challenges do I have?" So that would be a perfect example of how you could reframe just about any situation that's in your life. And if you ever find yourself saying to yourself or thinking, "Oh, I'll never be able to do this, I'll never be able to do that," try reframing it in some way. You might say to yourself, "I'm still learning, and I can improve, and I will improve with practice." You know, so it's really about developing a much more friendly self-talk with yourself, and stop saying things are awful and impossible and I can't do it and all of that. Because you can do it. You have power within you that's limitless. You can hitch your wagon to the stars. There's no place you can't go. You know, it's not over. It's not too late. And, you know, the point of power is always in the present moment, and you have the power. So I'm here to tell you, don't let that power that you have be wasted, or don't have that power work against you. There's a couple concrete examples of how you can begin to love yourself. Again, you have the power to reframe any situation and see it in a positive light. Any situation. Your challenge is to see the good, and no matter what it is. You might be going through a divorce. You might be going through job changes. You might be going through health challenges. Your challenge is to see the good. And if you do that, you will find the good. In our teaching, we teach you that you have what is called executive power. Ernest Holmes said there is power for good in the universe, and you have that power, and you can use that power. It's in you, it's operating through you. And the way it operates through you is, once you're aware that you're one with it, and you're an inlet and outlet of it, you just have to imagine yourself as life working better for you. You approach the ocean of life with what we call bigger buckets, with positive expectancy. And wherever you find yourself being critical of yourself, you just drop that. You say, "I release the need for that. I release the need for any negative thing." So that's the work that we do, because we don't want to have our power working against us. We want to step out and away from negative thinking or stinking thinking. In our teaching, we learn to live the affirmative life. We're engaged. We get engaged in what Louise Hay called the positive approach. We release the need to be critical of ourselves, and we begin to develop a healthy dialogue with ourselves. That healthy dialogue eventually, sooner than you think, will be mirrored in your day-to-day living. The next suggestion for this evening is to learn to surround yourself with positivity. Okay? Put yourself in an environment that makes yourself feel good. If you're renting, a room or your home, make it nice for you. Whatever it is, it doesn't have to be a palace, but make it nice for you. Surround yourself with, vibrations of things. Have books or things to read that are uplifting. Be smart enough if you're watching television to turn on the channels that bring you laughter, joy, inspiration. Seek out positive people. Hang out with them. I tell everybody, I turn on TED Talks for humor. I turn on TED Talks for inspiration. I go to YouTube. I know the things I'm looking for too. And I promise you, I'm not looking for drama, pain, or suffering. I'm looking for things that will lift my consciousness up or help me, because I know that I'm the person ultimately responsible to do that. So we seek out, we want to commune with great minds, we want to commune with great thoughts, and we want to seek out, we want to be in an environment that's supportive and be self-nurturing. Read positive books, media that will inspire you and uplift you. Being around positivity can help you stay motivated and focused on the good things that are in your life. If you keep focusing on the sensational things that are going on in the world, this past week was a good example, you'd find yourself miserable and worried. Ernest Holmes wrote, Bill Wilson also said it a different way, suffering is not God ordained. People suffer because people are all caught up in the negativity, but that's not God ordained. It's optional. Misery's optional. So you have the power to quiet your mind. You have the power to create in your mind, envision a great life. The final chapter of your life has not been written. Starting here, starting today, you can do it all differently. Another tool to bring you to that place is we can begin to slow down. If your mind is racing, you can begin to practice and learn how to be more mindful. Learning how to be more mindful can help you become more aware of your thoughts and your emotions, and it can help you become more present in new moments. If you can bring yourself to the now, where you be mindful of present moments, you can learn to see peace. There's another expression that I've loved for many years. I can see peace instead of this. And you might think, well, what does he mean? Any situation you're in that's disturbing you, you can say, I can see peace instead of this. And the thing is, if your focus is towards seeing the good or peace, that's what you're going to see. Whatever it is, wherever the problem seems to be, you can tell yourself, I can see peace instead of this. When you practice mindfulness, you can learn to recognize negative thought patterns, and then you can work to neutralize them, and you can also or reframe them towards something positive. You have the power to name things, create things. So don't let the negatives bring you down. Neutralize them, release the need for them, reframe them. Another thing tonight I'm going to suggest is all of us can, if you're in a rut or routine, you can challenge yourself to try new things. You can challenge yourself to take a different route home. You can learn to see the good around you. You can notice people. You can engage more. Trying new things can be scary for people, I'm aware, but it can also be a great way to build confidence and develop a more positive mindset. Challenge yourself to try something new each week, each day, whether it's a new hobby, picking up the phone, maybe trying out a new type of food or different exercise. Try something new. Do things to be more mindful, because a lot of us just living out our life, thinking of that movie 9 to 5. Everything's by rote, no one's really awake. So if you learn to be a little bit more mindful, taking different routes, doing different things, you'll start to notice the life around you. But most of all, for tonight, I wanted to say, from Louise Hay's book, practice self-love and self-care. Taking care of yourself is really the most important thing you can do to begin to cultivate a positive mindset. So work on doing things like improving, the food you eat, and rest and exercise, and whatever you can do, including your conversation with yourself. It's all self-care, and you're not going to be able to help the world if you're not helping yourself. So the whole thing is, take care of yourself. Make time for activities that bring you some humor, some joy. Make time for some exercise, reading, or spending time in nature. When you feel good about yourself, you're more likely to have a positive outlook on life. I'm here to also say, developing a positive expectancy, that's a big change for many people. For a lot of you, it might take some time and practice, but it's worth every bit of effort. Be patient with yourself. Celebrate every success along the way, however small or big. And before you know it, you're going to have a more positive outlook, and you're going to enjoy many wonderful things that come from living this way. Louise also said the point of power is always in this moment, this present moment, because it's the only moment we ever have any control over. The past has already happened, and we cannot change it, and the future is uncertain, and it's beyond our control. One thing's for certain: if you take care of yourself now and you have positive expectancy, the future will take care of itself. So if we want to create change in our lives or in the world around us, we must focus our attention and energy on the present moment. When we focus on the present, we can choose our thoughts and actions in a way that aligns with our highest and best. We can make decisions that are in line with our vision for the future, and we can take action that will create the changes that we want to see in our lives. In contrast, if we focused on the past, and I know many people do, it causes a lot of pain and suffering. Or if you focus on the future, we may feel regret or anxiety about things we cannot change or control. You might be feeling stuck or powerless, as though your lives are at the mercy of external forces. Your life is really all dependent upon what you think. So in essence, the point of power is in the present moment, because it's the only moment you have any control over. When we're fully present in the moment, we're engaging power. We can tap into our inner strength and wisdom, and we can make choices that will definitely lead us. We can listen to the voice within us, and we'll be led to places that we've never been before. I guess I'll close tonight by saying you have awesome, unbelievable access to power that you can't even begin to understand available to you. And it's in you and it's operating through you. So if you want to engage that power, then you want to develop the willingness to let go of everything that gets in the way of that. And you want to forgive yourself, love yourself with all your heart, and you want to extend that same forgiveness and love to everyone else.